go in the opposite direction here.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Miss Liz's Tea Time. Tonight I am joined in the studio with Barbara J.Hopkinson from Massachusetts. I am going to share a little bit about her bio, and then I'm going to let her share, and then we'll be doing the Q&As back and forth. And if you have any questions at all, be sure to throw them into the studio or the watch party, which I'll get started in about 2 minutes. So a little bit on Barbara. Barbara J. Hopkins is the founder and CEO of A Butterfly's Journey. She's from Newburyport, Massachusetts, USA. Barbara is 67 years young. Her site with about an intro video, Resource Ctr, photo gallery, and grief recovery programs. And it's http://butterfliesjourney.org. Her background is 30 years in corporate international technology software, includes IBM for 10 years, retired and does grief recovery resilience full-time. She started TCF of Greater Newburyport, Massachusetts in 2003. A year after her 21-year-old son passed, she released her first book and started ABJ in 2013. Made it a 501c3 nonprofit in 2015, and created Face of Resilience photo shoots and she put out her second book. Since then, she co-authored 2 Grief Diaries and put out a photo book in 2019. Excuse me. She made 3 main services with ABJ: the free Resource Ctr, the Face of Resilience mobile photo shoots and grief recovery method classes, online and only method that is evidence-based. Barbara is an advanced grief recovery method specialist, teaching classes in the only method which is evidence-based. She lost 3 children and her husband and parents, so she does understand multiple kinds of losses. Her goal is to help others find resilience after loss, and she's a woman helping others through their grief in an inspiring moment of a lifetime. And Barbara, that is an amazing bio. So I'm going to let you share a little bit about all the ABJs and all of that stuff. So Barbara, the stage is all yours.
All right, thanks. Just to make it a little easier without the abbreviations and things. Basically, I had a background in corporate technology and worked for IBM as well as other software companies. But during that time, I had lost 3 children. So I had a miscarriage, a full-term stillbirth, and then my 21-year-old son, Brent, was killed in a motorcycle accident. And that was, of course, very devastating. But I knew that helping others would help me heal. So I reached out and started a chapter of the Compassionate Friends. And that's an organization, the largest organization in the world is in the US, but it's also in Canada and in 30 countries. And there's like 600 chapters in the US. I'm not sure how many in Canada, but there are at least a couple that I know of on the Eastern Coast. I actually did I was at an event in Winnipeg last summer, as a matter of fact, at the Compassionate Friends. So I started that local chapter here, but wanted to do more. I wrote a memoir, A Butterfly's Journey, also called. That's a memoir, and put that out in 2013 and started the company A Butterfly's Journey. But then in 2015, I got certified as a grief recovery specialist in grief recovery method, which has been used 40 years. And that's the one that's evidence-based, which just means it's scientifically proven. And it's used all over the world, and it's been around 40 years. So I got certified, and I turned A Butterfly's Journey into an official nonprofit, and then created something called Faces of Resilience photo shoots. So I actually go to these grief events, and I often speak at them, but then we bring a photographer and lights and a backdrop and actually do a photo shoot where we encourage open expression around grief, loss, and love. So to people, so they literally write on their skin. And we have there's a photo book that came out last year of the first couple of hundred, but I've got thousands. There's a photo gallery on my site, if you can see it. Faces of Resilience, he's got Miss Shoe there, but just to give you a sense, right?
And that's what drew me to you, was the messages on the skin, right?
Yeah. it's very visceral. So people are writing, it's always messages from them, but I write it on their skin in a washable magic marker, so it washes right off. But it's a visceral thing for them to be able to express themselves because it's so difficult for them to talk about their grief. And so it allows them to openly express it. And then we send them the edited, professionally edited photo so that it's used as a catalyst to talk about their grief when they get back home. And that's probably the most healing thing you can do. Is just be able to talk about it. And
well, grief is a hard subject, right? It's that stigma on it, right? And hush hush kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really a shame. I think it's getting better over time, and people are starting to talk about it more, especially with all of the death from this pandemic and so many of the opioid crisis and and even the kind of an epidemic in suicides as well. So over the last couple of years. At least it's getting talked about more, but it's a sad reason because so many things are happening. Anyway, I got remarried and was happily married to my second husband for 12 years, and he died suddenly on his way to work while he was
my goodness.
to work. So that was about 2.5 years ago. I lost my parents when I was 32 and 47, and and then I fell in 2009. I was actually working out to train to swim at a triathlon, and I fell in a gym and detached my retina and lost the sight in my eye. And then later on, they had to remove the eye. So I've got a prosthetic. So I'm just familiar with a lot of different kinds of loss, basically.
Yeah.
So I consider it my life's purpose to be able to help people. And this grief recovery method, it's not just about loss with death, but it helps with other losses like relationships, pets, intangible things, which there's a lot of during this epidemic. I mean, there's loss of safety, there's loss of trust, there's people are not being able to be with their loved ones when they die. They're not being able to do funerals. They're not, celebrations of life or even graduations.
There's a lot of loss going on right now.
There is,
a lot, because my children lost their grandmother and they can't say goodbye. It's a hard time for everybody, right? It's
very difficult, and it's really important that we kind of acknowledge those losses and that we talk to the children about them and allow them to express themselves openly as well and really be listened to. We call it listening, like a heart with ears. Let them get their feelings out, because otherwise it'll bottle it up and it could cause them issues. But
so do you find like there's an increase in the grief services right now, or?
Well, there's a lot of, I think people are hesitant right now. So it's kind of a mix. It's not that it's really increased that much, but I think there's a lot more loss going on.
Yeah.
There's so many elements here, right? Because there's a lot of loss of income and a lot of loss of jobs and a lot of different things. So I think people have to kind of sometimes shake their head and figure out what they can do and what they can afford. And one of the things that we do, so the three main things with a Butterfly's Journey is we do those Faces of Resilience photo shoots, mobile photo shoots, and I do online grief recovery method classes. I've got an advanced certification, so I can actually do them online. But we have a free resource center. So the website is abutterfliesjourney.org, and it's possessive, not plural, so it's FLYS.
Okay.
And there's a free resource center there with hundreds of resources in 10 categories. So again, this is so people can 24/7, anytime they feel like they need to, see or listen or do something, they can go out and find a TED Talk or an article or, a book or an organization that might help. It's broad-based.
And you're also found on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I believe, right?
Yeah, I have both a Butterfly's Journey and Faces of Resilience are on Facebook and Instagram, and then a Butterfly's Journey is on Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and then I've got personal pages on most of those as well.
Oh wow! So I'll have to check that out because I only got a few. There's a few I don't have. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So with your Butterfly Journey, what was the beginning of it? What was it that the light that said, this needs to get done? This is what, what was the beginning?
The real beginning is when I reached out, when my son died, I felt I felt intuitively that if I could that reaching out to help others would help me heal. And so I started the Compassionate Friends of Greater Newburyport. So that's a local support group. I'm north of Boston. So
Okay.
probably like within an hour, whoever could drive to me, I do monthly support meetings. But after several years, I wanted to do more. And that manifested itself into my first book. And then it also then after that, it carried into, I still wanted to do more. And I wanted to take it broader than just not just loss of a child, but loss of a child, grandchild, sibling is so serious, but I wanted to make things more available. So I found that methodology, GRM, that I got certified in, and I in structuring the nonprofit, it just, I wanted to pick like these are the three things that I can focus on that everybody can understand, the Resource Center, the grief recovery classes, and the mobile photo shoots. And I can do a lot of good with that, and I can take it broadly. I mean, my goal was to take it international, and I finally did that last year. So
that's amazing.
5 years of doing it. So, and I hope to expand on that, because I love talking with the people when they come to take their photos, and I talked about them a little about their story while I'm writing, on them. And it's just amazing, some of the stories you hear and some of the things people go through, and it makes you really appreciate your own situation, and hey, it's not so bad. So and it also, these people are kind of like-minded, so we get to talk to a lot of people, and when you've been through tragedy, it kind of puts things in perspective, right? It makes things, for me anyway, it made it crystal clear what was important and what was not. So I really got rid of all the junk that wasn't important in my life, and I don't put up with negativity or silly things, and I've learned to appreciate, even with the grief, and people ask me, how I've healed. Well, there's a lot of tools, but one big turning point was when I really started thinking of my son's life, for instance, and even my husband's, as a gift, not just a loss. That made things much easier for me. And now I still have a relationship with them. It's just with them in spirit, and I can feel their presence sometimes, and I get some signs and messages, which is lovely. But
I'm big on messages. I'm a person that's big on messages. If I see a bird or I see something, I'm like, oh, yep, okay, got it. Thank you.
He actually channeled 2 songs to a musician friend of mine, and they're on my website as a free gift, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's one called Theme of a Butterfly's Journey, which is instrumental, and then there's Love Everlasting, which has lyrics, which it really is, I think, it's to me as a parent, but I think meant for all bereaved, people that have lost a child. And and there've been a lot of signs. I started a book about signs, but I haven't gotten very far with it.
Well, you have how many books out, Barbara? You have
5
books, right?
So The Butterfly's Journey, Healing Grief After the Loss of a Child was my memoir, and Faces of Resilience was the photo book. But in between, I co-authored 2 of the Grief Diaries. I think Will We Survive and Surviving Pet Loss. And then I was collaborative with 13 other women with faith, Finding Answers in the Heart, Volume 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But
and how do you find the loss of a pet? Do you find that there's a lot of, is it the adults or the children that are more grieving the loss?
Without adults, we do have a grief recovery program for when children grieve, but it's really not directly for children. It's for adults dealing with children and having to help them. But the pets is mostly adults that I'm dealing with, and it's it's a family member, especially if someone has a pet and they don't have children. That's really like their child, and if they've been particularly close to them or reliant on them through tragedies in their own life, it really can have a very dramatic effect. So a unique grief is unique to everyone.
It is, because I lost my cat that I've had for 12 years, and it was just like a kid, right? It's not the same. There's days where I'm like, okay, where's he hiding? Oh no, that's right, he's gone. You know. Yeah. But and then memories will come up, right? Like the Facebook memories will come up of him, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's hard. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of grieving to do with pet loss, because pets are a member of the family. So, Yeah, so it doesn't. I don't think it's terribly useful to compare losses. A lot of people do that, but it really is your relationship is very unique with whether
Yeah.
the relationship is with a pet or with a person, and other people can't really judge it because they didn't have that exact relationship. So that's
Yeah.
one of the nice tenets of the grief recovery method is it doesn't believe in stages, and it really allows your uniqueness and has you watch out for myths and things like short-term energy relieving behaviors, but it has tools. It's just a 7-week class, and it's complementary to both therapy. It really helps it work much better, and even support groups. But it's short-term and it's action-based. There's a book and homework, and there's tools that you can reuse. But so it's quite effective.
Now, do you have workbooks with your with a butterfly's journey when they do like workshops and that?
I did the grief. It's a grief recovery method. So there's actually a
Okay.
book. So if somebody, for instance, now we're just doing really everything online. If somebody would decide to want to do this, and I should mention what I'm doing during the pandemic because of all the sexual losses to offer $100 off
Okay.
7-week class. They just should tell me that they saw me on your show or whatever.
Okay.
And so there's actually a book. There's like a textbook. Oh, I should have brought it here. Anyway, I've got it. And it's basically we go through in this homework on
Okay.
things, and we go through the sessions between an hour and 2 hours each week. So some it's one, and some the first one might be two. But it's around 60 to 90 minutes for each of. And we online we actually pack it into 6 weeks, and then we have the 7th week. We put out a couple of weeks as kind of a check-in afterwards to see how you're doing and if there's any adjustments you want to make, because there are tools that allow you to walk through your losses and your relationship. You pick a relationship and really figure out all these undelivered communications, which is one of the reasons why you hang on to the pain, and you formatting it into a letter and reading it out loud and saying goodbye to the pain and to a lot of the stuff that was incomplete. It helps you complete your relationship.
Well, it's good that you have a follow-up, right, with your program, because some services don't have that. They just do the 6-week support and then, no follow-ups.
This is more active, because this is not a support. This is much more action-based than a support group. Support groups are lovely, and they're lovely to be able to talk to people and meet, people that have been through similar things. But this is actually with homework and tools, and it's action-based. Yeah,
and I think that's what I really enjoyed when I did some research on a butterfly's journey, was that you have these different steps, right? And what works for somebody else won't work for another person. So like if the workbook and that department works for somebody, the butterfly pictures and that, like your resilient pictures, might work for another person, right? Because
they're different things. One is about open expression of grief, loss, and love, and one is about helping you actually heal your grief with the methodology. But it's been used on 6 continents for 40 years.
Wow.
And now it's evidence-based. It's been certified as evidence-based through Kent State University last year, which is a long, involved process because it's a scientific process.
And what do you get when you hear the word resilience, Barbara?
What do you mean? What do I get?
When you hear the word resilience, what comes to mind?
Okay. Really the ability to withstand changes and loss, and whether it surprises, good or bad, but really the ability to withstand and be elastic and withstand and survive.
That continuous, right?
The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And not only survive it, but actually be happy again. Yeah. So to me, hope and resilience, you find hope, and then you work to find the resilience to recover from these things. So I've had all these losses, but I'm fine. I really am good. I have a happy life, and I'm okay. So
and I get that, because I'm known as a person who has a lot of resilience. Like no matter what happens, I keep going, right? I keep moving on. Right. I do have my bad days, but I push through, right? Yeah. And I look for the tools and the tips.
Right.
And that's what I like about all of my guests that come on Teatimes, is that you leave all my viewers with tools and tips, right? And you leave your websites and you leave all of that good stuff, books, and all of that. So if anybody wants to reach you after the show, or, you know, and later on, like if they're going through a grief, like in 3 months, and they'll say, hey, remember I seen this lady on Teatime, and I'm going to reach out to her.
Yeah. And it's, no, it's great. And there's a lot of things you can do day to day, you know, that help. I find journaling is very helpful, and people don't always think about it. But boy, when you can write stuff down, it's very cathartic, and nobody ever has to see it. You can burn it if you want to. You know?
Nobody needs to see those journals.
Right. But, you know, but it's very cathartic to do that. And my other son, my remaining son, Brad, who's now a chef and has his own restaurant, he was only 19 when his brother died. And he bought me a refillable leather-bound journal 6 months after his brother died. And I had never done any diary or journaling, but I found it really powerful. I tried it just because he gave it to me, and I was amazed at how cathartic it was. And then things like meditation, or, you know, there's a lot of, I use a lot of the like Mind Valley, or things that where you can just either have a guided one you can find, you know, online, or you can just plug in a headset and don't have to worry so much about having to learn how to do it. But really it's focused around deep breathing, and it calms the parasympathetic nervous system, you know, just deep breathing, exercise, getting out in nature, all that stuff helps, but it's not one thing, right? It's multiple things over
multiple. Yeah.
The first thing is about making a choice.
That's number one.
Make a choice to heal, as opposed to staying stuck, you know, where you are. And then start trying. I recommend, I don't know, you try at least 3 things, you know, and then pick one that works the best, and then, you know, keep doing that, and then maybe pick another one, try, you know, just keep trying things, because you'll run into stuff that helps. Energy healing, you know.
Anything, right? There's different things for different people, you know, and what doesn't work for me might work for you. So those are the things that I want people to understand, is that what might not work for you will work for somebody else, right? And this is why we have multiple different guests on Teatime, because we want that flavor and that different blend, right? So
I was in a very high pressure job with IBM International, and I didn't know anything about spirituality. I had gotten away from my religion growing up that I grew up with, and, you know, I just didn't think about that until my son died. And when he died, I just had to find out whether or not his spirit continued. I was driven, and I was in shock. I couldn't read or listen to music for like 3 months. And I just went on a quest, and I started looking into what does spirituality mean, or what does it mean to me? And what is this like energy healing, and what is, you know, all this? And I've probably tried every kind of energy healing known to man. And I was amazed at how much it helped. It really helped a lot. So sometimes people don't consider that. So they keep an open mind, trust your intuition. Don't worry too much about what other people are telling you, because they probably don't know.
Well, they're not walking that path, right?
Right.
Each path is different for everybody. So
thank you, and do what you want.
Take what you need and then leave the rest.
Right. But if you try a lot of different things that you hadn't thought of before, you might be surprised at which ones help, is the point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you said you wrote a book on the diaries. Is that like to write in, or is that like?
Grief Diaries is a great anthology series. It was started by Linda Sheldon Fell, who now also founded the International Grief Institute. And it's an anthology series where you can go out, and depending on the titles that haven't been published yet, basically she has like 600 writers all over the world. You contribute. She'll actually send you, I think it's like 18 questions, 6 questions a week, or 3 questions a week for 6 weeks, something like that. Anyway, and you write about your experience related to that topic within grief. And I think it also has other, there's probably life diary. There's 3 or 4 groups, but one of them is Grief Diaries, and it's very well known and international. And she's very, very talented.
Oh, cool. So we'll share that after the show. If you have any of that information, any information that Barbara has, she will be sharing after the show. So you guys can reach out to her. You can check out her pages. This woman is truly amazing. Like, I've been following her for a few years, like I said, and it was the messages on the arms. I lost a daughter. She'll be 32 from stillborn, and it was a lot to keep in for many, many years. It was a family secret. So once my father passed, I was able to grieve her, and then it was to grieve my father. And then I found out I had complicated grief, and
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just a roller coaster, right? The
Yeah,
complicated grief.
absolutely.
So
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I went through that. But yeah, no, it's so much that it's funny because that's the thing. It's visual and it's visceral.
yeah.
So and it's funny. We started out with a couple of different names, but ended up Faces of Resilience because we really are. These people in these photos are absolutely resilient, and it's a a more positive look at it. And
Yeah.
they say some amazing things. I mean,
Oh my goodness, yeah. I've seen some of the pictures and I'm like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't have thought of saying that, you know,
yeah,
express myself that way. And it really, really expressive, like really nice. And
yeah.
it was easy to understand what
Hmm.
they went through with just the words on the arms and on the face. And, I like the way that the layouts and each picture is different. It's not like the same picture all the
No,
time. It's,
yeah,
it's,
everybody
it's
does
a
whatever they
different
want.
picture, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had some people. I had one woman who was actually from Canada, living in Canada, but was working with had a lot of issues, or her cause was about the indigenous women. And a lot of the murders were going on, and the symbol for that is a red hand over the face. And
Oh,
she had me paint a red hand with a marker over her face like that. It's amazing. Yeah, that's in there somewhere. That was in one.
wow.
We did that, or no, that was at Washington. We did Seebeck. We did an event at Seebeck, and she came down from Western Canada. And again, it was in memory of all these indigenous women that
Oh,
were getting
wow. Is
murdered.
that the day where they wear the red dress for in
I think
memory of
so.
the?
I think it might be. Yeah, it might
Okay.
be. I'm not sure. But there's a lot of things. One dad that had damaged written across his forehead, and he said, "Guys grieve hard," written somewhere.
Yeah.
But I had a mother who lost her son to overdose who wrote, "No shame, no blame, just love."
Oh,
Somebody else, grief is the price of love, or a whole family with a different word on each of their, we take a picture of the whole group together and a different word on each of their, someplace on their body.
yeah. I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So the photo gallery, I've got a lot of them. I've still got a lot to put out there, but there's a photo gallery with hundreds of photos out on my site at butterfliesjourney.org. And then again, we have this Faces of Resilience book, and I would love to do more books and even do themes, with siblings or overdose and suicide or military or things like that. So
Oh, that would be really
kind of
good.
got put on hold, right? Because nobody's doing any events this year, but
Yeah.
I did
Well,
several.
I'm hoping that the pandemic's going to be over soon, so we can start doing things again, right?
That would be lovely.
And
But I don't
yeah.
know if that's going to happen, but that would be lovely.
Yeah, I don't see anything letting up too fast, and this is why we have tea time, right? So people can still get the
Yeah,
information.
lovely idea. Yeah.
When the pandemic is over, your services are still there. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that services are still available to all of my
Online
viewers.
now. Oh yeah, it will be, but most everything is online right now.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to start traveling because again, I retired. I do this full time for the nonprofit, and it's just I take anything for it. I just love to keep doing it and supporting it. So sometimes people support me. There is a donate button on there as well, just to help with the cost because the photo shoots are costly, and then I sometimes get help, adding resources to the resource center and things like that.
Yeah.
Editing the photos. It all takes a lot of work, but I'm on a mission in memory
Yeah.
of all my lost loved ones. Yeah.
Have you ever done a photo shoot for different services?
Um, for things other not related to grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not really. Yeah,
No.
I've done them for like at overcoming addiction vigils
Okay.
and at Walk on the Capitol about the opioid crisis, and at the Association for Death and Education Consulting. But it's all been kind of, and then at Compassionate Friends chapters or national conference. I've done 4 or 5 national conferences for the Compassionate Friends, 2 or 3 for Bereaved Parents of the USA. And then I've done a lot of regional conferences and things like that too. I did the international Compassionate Friends became 50. They were just 50 years last year, and I went to
Oh,
London.
wow.
Did their conference and their international conference in London. Yeah.
It's amazing that they're 50 years and I'm just learning about,
Yeah.
I'm wondering why some services that are known have been in service for so long, why they're not known. Is it because
I
they're
don't know.
government funded? Is it
In the U.S., it's pretty well known. It's the largest grief organization in the world in the U.S.
Okay.
So, but I don't think there are as many in Canada, but there's got to be at least a couple or a few anyway. But I can even put you in touch with the ones in Winnipeg, or you could just look Compassionate Friends of Canada.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, for sure. Get them so I can get that service out there, right? I'm located in Ontario, but that doesn't mean that there's not services all over Canada and all over the world.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm all about awareness. If you're not living in Cornwall, you might be living in Winnipeg and you need this service. So Miss Liz has it for you, right? And if we don't have the service in Cornwall, maybe we can get it into Cornwall. You know, these are different things that we can open these doors, you know, and get different kind of services going and moving and connecting together and saying, okay, we don't have this service here. How do we get this service here? You know?
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
So because we're on Teatime, like I said before the show, I throw this at everyone out there. And we actually have a viewer in from the Philippines, and he's been at a couple of my shows lately. So thanks again for Lorento Carl from Philippines for joining us again tonight. What is your favorite memory of tea?
Tea, let's see. Oh my goodness. Probably sitting. I tend to drink probably more coffee than tea, but with tea.
That's okay. Most of my guests only drink coffee.
Yeah, I know. I drink both.
I'll get everybody transformed over to the teacup soon, right?
I think probably sitting and talking with my sons, like in the morning, over tea, or especially when they were younger and they probably drank tea more than they before coffee and stuff, and just sitting and talking over whatever was going on in their lives, you know.
Yeah. So is it the old-fashioned milk and sugar tea?
Yeah, basically. I drink my tea black for the most part, but I used to drink it with milk and sugar.
With milk and sugar, yeah. That's how I got my first cup when I was 4. What my great grandma was.
Right,
and I drank it real fast, and she's like, no, and she was from Germany, so I was like, oh, what did I do? And she's like, no, you enjoy that cup of tea and reflect on it, like. That tea has a message for you. If you drink it too fast, you're not going to get the message. Oh okay.
Yeah. You know, I'll sit at night sometimes or have tea, you know, if I'm watching TV or just sitting and reflecting, or outside on the deck. If it's nice out, you know.
So what message would you like to give everybody about a butterfly's journey? What is the message behind a butterfly's journey?
I think that's a good question. It's really that you can survive these losses, and your loved ones want you to heal. They want you to be happy again. They want you to be okay. And their spirit continues. So you should really trust that you can continue to have a relationship with them. It's just with their spirit. I often think about my son, okay, maybe he's on the other side of the world, you know, or whatever. I can't touch him, see him, but I can, you know, a lot of times I do feel him, especially when I meditate. But I remember at the end of my book, I had the three most important things after, because that was 10 years after I'd lost him when I finished the book. And I remember it was trust your gut, so kind of trust your own gut in terms of what you should or shouldn't do, but keep an open mind and try new things. Helping others helps you heal. It's tremendous, even if it's not related to the cause of death. It's just something very healing about it. And then it's all about the love. And if you can focus more on the memories and the love you shared and some of the fun things, like I think about my son now, rather than thinking about the pain of the loss, I think about us, you know, riding front seats of roller coasters all day. and
the good stuff, right?
Yeah. So, and some of the fun things we did on like a mother-son trip or whatever, you know, and so now I smile when I think about him as opposed to, you know, be sad.
Yeah. So what did your grief teach you, Barbara?
Oh my, it taught me what was important and what wasn't. Okay. I had almost an immediate intolerance for nonsense and
I get that.
negativity, right? It's like, and so, you know, after surviving all of these losses, but especially the loss of my 21-year-old, it was like, you know what? not only as I'm healing, I figure I can kind of survive anything, because everything compared to some of those losses is trivial.
Yeah.
Trivial to me. I mean, not that everything else is trivial, but just that um, it makes you very strong, and you realize that, and it makes you very aware of what's important. So I stopped listening to news. I stopped having conversations where people were whining. I just walk away. I stopped listening to negative junk and stayed away from politics and arguments about politics and religion and all that stuff that was a waste of time, in my opinion. So, it's got to be a personal thing, but it made it very crystal clear to me what's important and what's not. So I think I learned that, and I learned how strong I was, which made it that much easier to endure. Say when I lost my eyesight, and people were, "Oh, how can you do that?" I said, "That's nothing compared to losing a child."
Exactly, right.
It's
The loss of a child is hard.
very well, yeah,
It
and
is
loss of
hard.
anybody is hard, but
Yeah.
it puts things in perspective for me in terms of, I can do this.
Yeah.
I could survive that. I can do this. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, but yeah.
So with the compassionate friends, how do you go about finding out about them? Is there like a website? Are you connected to that site? Or
CompassionateFriends.org is the USA website.
okay.
And on there is a chapter locator.
Okay.
And so there are literally 600 chapters or more in the US. Now, I believe there is a Compassionate Friends of Canada. I don't know that the East and the West Coast are connected. I know there's one in Winnipeg. I know there's one either near Ontario or somewhere in the country. But I'm a little less familiar with the name of the website. But if you were to Google the Compassionate Friends of Canada, I'm sure you'd find it.
Okay.
Yeah, but and they're pretty prevalent, and like I said, in the U.S. it's very easy to find, because there are literally chapters in most places. Most driving, you can drive to most of them, but maybe less more remote areas, it might be more difficult. But they're all volunteer. It's an all volunteer organization.
Yeah. I get that, because I was with bereaved families of Cornwall for a couple of years, and we were all volunteer based. So
yeah, and that they support families that have lost a child, grandchild, or sibling. So the U.S. has a pretty strong sibling organization as well. So they get together at the national conference, and unfortunately, they canceled their July national conference. They're trying to either figure out whether they postpone it to October or whether they try to do something virtual in July. But they have a very strong sibling organization, so that they always get something, and they do something on their own at the conferences, as well, which is good.
yeah, I'm noticing that a lot of things are going virtual conference because of what's going on.
Yeah,
and we never know when the start date is, right, or how it's going to go, or the stages that because each province and each state is doing a different startup, right? So
yeah, right, in the US, right.
Yeah.
There's a lot
in Canada too, we're doing different startups, and Ontario and Quebec are different compared to out west. Yeah, it's really confusing, because you'll hear from a friend that's out west, oh well, we're doing this, and then we're like, well, we're not doing that yet, like, so
I'm sure that, there are differences probably, especially in terms of so New York and Boston had a lot of cases because they're much more heavily populated.
Yeah.
Where, that may not be the case in North Dakota or even New Hampshire, and maybe they've got a little more freedom. I don't know. I just hope they're not opening up too soon before their peak, so that it ends up bringing another surge in.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about too, is the quick opening. I think we need to just pace ourselves and do it at a paceful time. I know it's stressful for everyone, and it's hard.
A lot of loss of income and jobs. It's really tough.
It is, right? There's a lot of loss and grief and all that. So with your services, it's only the passing grief, right? There's not like an aftercare grief, or like, when people lose their jobs, or do you have any of those services?
The recovery method covers 43 kinds of loss.
Oh, okay.
Every conceivable kind of loss.
Okay.
Yeah, the same methodology. Again, when you're going through the process, everything is tailored to you, but it's all different kinds of loss. It's not just death.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So, because there are a lot of loss right now going on. So
yeah, really, there's a lot of intangible losses. Like I said, loss of safety, jobs, graduations, not being able to be with your loved ones where they pass, not being able to have funerals and celebrations of life. There's a lot of tough things going on right now.
Yeah, everything is going virtual. It's like we're in a time warp zone, right? Like,
yeah, some things work even better. Some things are doing better, are working out better virtual. They're certainly saving a lot of money, but it's killing the oil industry because industry is not using, and neither is the planes and the cars, and everybody is kind of.
Yeah,
so
it's a crazy time, right?
It's like the Twilight Zone. I remember thinking.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? It's like the Twilight Zone. Like, when do we get out of it? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but this feels like there's got to be some purpose to it. I don't know. The Earth is healing quite a bit, right? The smog, and there's dolphins in the canals in Venice, and the smog is lifted from LA. And
yeah, I've been watching that, like clear water where the fish are like it's like you're drinking a glass of water, right? It's so crystal clear. It's amazing, right?
There's some benefits to it, I guess, but it's tough on people. So
yeah,
hopefully it'll wind its way into a reasonable compromise.
So do you have any future projects on the go, Barbara?
Well, I didn't talk about the
the bookmarks.
Yeah, so that's one that we're doing right now. So I've partnered with Harleen from Celebrating Life Bookmarks, and we are actually offering 2 free memorial bookmarks to everybody in this tough time, because especially where so many of them can't be with their loved ones when they're ill and passing. And so it's clbookmarks.com/abj, and if they go to that site, it'll basically allow them to put in a photo, and if they want to put an obituary or a poem or text, whatever, for the front of the bookmark, and then the back has got a little story about my butterfly logo, and it's got a butterfly border, and they'll get 2 of those laminated. They're beautiful quality for free. They don't have to buy anything, but if they want to buy more and customize it so they can customize the borders and the front and the back and everything, they're not expensive, and there's a link on that page that'll tell them where to go to get the fully custom ones.
And they can get that worldwide?
Yes.
Awesome.
Actually, am I saying that? She's doing that. I was going to say I think US and Canada right now.
US and Canada, okay.
Yeah, US and Canada. Because I think I'm not sure what the issues are in terms of, just shipping to other countries. So I think she was trying to keep it simple, especially where it's free.
Okay.
It's simple to keep the cost reasonable because she's sending them to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's lovely. So we're basically co-sponsoring that, so that people can do that, and that also out on my Facebook page is posted out there, on the A Butterfly's Journey on Facebook. You can see there'll be a post out there for the links, and I put resources out there and memes and different things every day as well.
That's cool. And I'll make sure to get all that information into the comments after the show. So
thank you. I want to start up. I've been doing. If you get on my email list, I've actually been doing. I do a monthly newsletter, but I've been doing they're weekly tip videos. They're like a minute each. And so if you go into for instance, if you go to the Resource Center and sign in, it'll ask you for an email, and then it will send just a monthly newsletter that gives you an update and these weekly tips. And so and I'm going to actually start doing some more stuff with resources and things like that in by mail. And I absolutely want to get and take once we can gather again, take the photo shoots more international than they are. I know there's every other year in Montreal, there's a palliative care conference, and I missed it last time because I had an event somewhere else. But I would love to do that. I was hoping to do that this October, but I don't know if it's going to go on or not.
Well, if it does happen, let me know. I'm only an hour from Montreal. I'd love to meet you in person. And,
yeah, that'd be great.
It would be amazing to meet all of my Teatime guests in person because, like I said, bringing you guys in from all over Massachusetts is a nice place, I've heard. So maybe I'll go visit Massachusetts.
Cool. Yeah, I'm north of Boston. Is the way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you never know where Miss Liz will go, right?
Yeah, right. So you're hoping to come visit. But anyway, it's so that's kind of the main things. Then we'll just see how things go. So being able to to do the grief recovery method classes online and do the enhance the resource center and then do the photo shoots, take them into more places. I'd love to do one, photo shoots even with kids or teens or military, there's so much going on there. I'd love to be able to do that when there are gatherings again.
Well, if you do ever do it, let me know and I will share it for you. Like I will get it out there. So
Sure.
So like I said, our relationship is just beginning. And if you have anything that's coming up in the future, let me know. And it will go into your Teatime. So anybody that wants to follow this Teatime and know more about Barbara and the butterfly's journey, you can check out that Teatime anytime. It is on Miss Liz's Making a Difference and the YouTube channel. So people can watch this video at any time. In 5 years from now, they can watch and they can learn about you and say, hey, 5 years ago, I seen her.
Yeah.
So it is there for everyone.
And we've got, and I want to expand. I want to start working on expanding the resource center some more too, especially with some of the epidemics that have gone on, and maybe put some more resources, especially around things like, opioid crisis, things like that. But there's already 10 categories out there. And there's a really interesting TED Talks in the videos and a lot of different things like that. So books, organizations, because now there's a lot of them. When I started all this, there weren't many, but now there's a lot.
So out of the 5 books that you've been in, what is your number one book that you like, that you find is the most empowering? Like if somebody wanted to get a book today, what book would you recommend them to get?
Okay. If they'd lost a child, I'd say maybe A Butterfly's Journey Healing Grief After the Loss of a Child. That was my memoir, because I did, the first part of it was kind of the story about my son, kind of from the 2 weeks from phone call to funeral. But the second part of it was what I learned after 10 years. I wrote that 10 years later and kind of what the whole spiritual journey and what I learned. But if there's not a loss of a child in general grief, then it's, I would say probably the photo book, because that has all kinds of loss and all kinds of grief. And it's not something you read exactly, because it's not text. It's
pictures.
It's just it's photos, but it's moving. Yeah, it's moving. It's visceral. So yeah.
And I believe you have the book there, right, with the pictures?
I do. There it is.
So if anybody would like to see the Faces of Resilience, that's the cover of it, and it's an empowering book. I've seen some of the pictures, and I'm like,
there's the back is my daughter. The interesting thing about this, so this is my remaining son, and this is my stepson's wife, my daughter-in-law. But I did not choose either one of these. I sent the publisher 200 photos, and she picked those 2 photos for the cover. I had no idea. She knew nothing about me. She knew nothing.
See, it happens for a reason. I'm telling you, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it does. It really is. I'm trying to see. I mean, I even do pets sometimes. So here's a little girl with her dog, and oops, I'm sorry. It's the opposite.
Opposite way, right? Yeah.
It's the opposite way that you move versus the way it's going. There's some really. I'm just looking to see. I have to go through, but there's all with different people and just different. Yeah.
Yep. And that's what really got my attention when I first seen you on Facebook, was the messages on the body, and I was like, that is different and that is empowering, because sometimes you can't express what your grief is, what you're feeling, right? And you try to tell people, but they just don't get it. Yeah. So by putting the words on your skin, they can see it.
Yes. It's visceral. And it's funny, because I saw it in the context of something else that wasn't grief related. And I said, I need to get that to people who are grieving. And especially initially, I was still focused on people that had lost a child like I had. And I said, because people run from them, right? I mean, in all the years I've been doing the support group for bereaved parents for 17 years. Most of them tell me that people run from them. They run around corners avoiding them in supermarkets because they don't know what to say to them. Yep. And I think it also kind of scares them to think about that kind of tragedy in the context of their own lives. So they run. They don't want to talk about it. So this was born out of that. It was basically saying this gives them a way to
they can see it
themselves, and then it's visceral, so it's emotional and cathartic for them. But because then they get the photo, they get the photo with, with the, then they can print it, frame it, post it, do whatever they want with it, and it's, it allows them to talk about it. So they really have had a really good reaction to it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And I find it's really empowering, right? Just certain words, sometimes it's just like, whoa, it'll just get you, and it'll give you an understanding of what somebody's going through when they're trying to tell you over and over again, and you don't get it, but then they see this word on your skin and they see it, and they're like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this one girl that brings to mind, this young girl, she lost her older brother and 2 months later lost her sister. And literally, she's still got one brother, but she makes a heart with her hands and she writes, "You're not lost, you're in my heart."
Oh.
And, things like that are just, amazing. And so I love being the one writing on them and talking to them. I usually bring a photographer with me because I'd rather talk to them and writing on their skin, even though I sometimes do the photography too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Barbara, for joining me tonight in the studio on Teatime. And like I said, if anything that you're doing in the future, please let me know so I can get it out there for you.
Sure.
And right when we're done with the show, Barbara will put all the information in there, all of the incredible books that she's in, any of the Facebook pages or Twitter pages, Instagram pages. We'll get that all up there. So anybody that would like to get a hold of you, Barbara, they can. And again, I really appreciate you bringing awareness to grief, because it is a hard subject. It is still stigma out there, but we need to break that stigma as well, right? And it's okay to talk about our grief.
Yeah.
So.
And the easy contact is just info@abutterfliesjourney.org, and then US phone number. But yes, we'll get all that in there so people can see it. But no, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for helping me bring awareness to grief, because like I said, I want to bring awareness to 3 things I've lived.
Yeah.
So, and grief is one of them. And I really appreciate the services that you have, and services that are out there, because we need more services like that. And who knows, maybe we'll bring it to Cornwall, because we do need services here as well.
I'm only a 5-hour drive from Montreal. So
wow.
From Montreal, I can't be more than 6 hours from you, and I'd be happy to drive 6 hours and come and do an event, do a photo shoot or speak. Yeah.
Oh wow. I might keep you and get you for that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that would be really empowering.
Yeah. I actually, I don't know if you've heard of Alan Peterson. He does the Angels Across the USA tour, and he's very well known, especially in the US, as a grief expert. And he and I put together a workshop on resilience. And so a lot of times at the conferences, when I do a photo shoot, I'll speak. I'll do a workshop on resilience as well.
Oh wow. Yeah. I might have to get him on Teatime. Like I said, I want, my door is open for anybody who wants to bring awareness, right? Because Teatime is about awareness, and it is about getting the services and projects, foundations, movements, anything that's out there that people are not aware of needs to be heard. So
Mitch Carmody is also national grief expert, and he has Heartlight Studios, and he's done a video about my photos, which is pretty amazing. I could even send you that link if you want.
Oh wow, I would love to see that.
It's a 4-minute video, but it really captures them. And then friends, doctors Gloria and Heidi Horsley are Open to Hope Foundation, probably the biggest resource stockpile on grief there is.
Oh wow.
Really.
I'll have to reach out to all of these incredible people, because these services need to be known, and they need to, get awareness.
Yeah.
It's like you said, 50 years, and I'm just learning about it, right? So it's
Widow Lucian, Mary Lee Robinson. There's just widowers too. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I could give you half a dozen names that are.
Oh yeah, for sure. Send me an email with the list, and I will reach out, and I will for sure get them on Teatime, because I'm all about getting that awareness out there, right? So
can't have enough resources. That's why all my resources in the centers and even the posts are always very broad based. They're not just about what I do, because you just want to get people as much resources as many resources to pick from if you can. Yeah.
Exactly, right. If one resource doesn't work for somebody else, it might work for another service or another resource, right?
Yeah.
So if we give the tools are there, people can use them.
Absolutely.
So,
well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much. And we will see you tomorrow. I have Laura Buckley that is sharing her story on PTSD. And then next week, I have a few other surprises that I'm working on. So I'm trying not to give my guest away too early because I would really like to just spotlight you guys in a special way, right? So thank you again, Barbara, for joining me tonight all the way from Massachusetts. It really means a lot to me. US came to Cornwall today, guys, so you never know. Maybe Cornwall will go to Massachusetts next. And thank you all for joining me tonight in the studio and on the watch party. And if you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments in the watch party and in the studio, and I will get them to Barbara. And Barbara, I will tag you so that you will be able to see if there's any questions. If I can't answer them and I can't get a hold of you, you'll be able to see that. And we will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for Miss Liz's tea time, and we will make a difference, one cup of tea at a time. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.